What happens when a beloved country music superstar sits down with television's most controversial talk show panel and everything goes horribly wrong? You won't believe what unfolds when Blake Shelton faces off against The View's most outspoken hosts in one of the most explosive confrontations in daytime TV history. This isn't just another celebrity interview gone sideways. This is a masterclass in how quickly things can spiral completely out of control when egos clash and tempers flare. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because you're not going to believe what happens when these worlds collide in the most dramatic way possible. The morning started like any other at the View Studios in New York City. Blake Shelton, fresh off his latest album release and riding high on the success of his recent tour, was scheduled to appear on the show to discuss his music career and his life after leaving The Voice. What should have been a straightforward promotional appearance quickly took a turn for the worse as the host seemed determined to turn what was meant to be entertainment into a political battlefield. From the moment Shelton walked onto the set, there was an unmistakable tension in the air. Joy Behar, known for her sharp tongue and political commentary, sat at the table with what could only be described as a predatory gleam in her eye. Whoopi Goldberg maintained her usual stern demeanor, while the other panelists seemed to sense something volatile brewing beneath the surface of their carefully orchestrated daytime television facade. The pleasantries were exchanged with forced smiles and hollow laughter. Shelton, dressed casually in jeans and a button-down shirt, appeared, relaxed and ready to discuss his music. He spoke about his latest songs, his touring experiences, and shared a few lighthearted anecdotes about life on the road. The audience responded warmly to his down-to-earth charm, but it was clear that the hosts had a different agenda. So Blake, Joy Behar began, her voice carrying an edge that immediately shifted the atmosphere. You've been pretty vocal about your political views in the past. Given everything happening in this country right now, I'm curious about your thoughts on some of the more controversial issues we're facing. Her words hung in the air like a challenge, and Shelton's expression subtly shifted as he realized this wasn't going to be the typical promotional chat. Shelton shifted slightly in his chair, his media-trained instincts kicking in as he attempted to navigate what was clearly becoming a minefield. Well, Joy, I've always believed that music should bring people together rather than divide them. I try to keep my focus on entertaining folks and giving them something positive to connect with. His response was diplomatic, clearly designed to steer the conversation back to safer territory, but Behar wasn't having it. She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. That's a nice sentiment, Blake. But don't you think celebrities have a responsibility to use their platform to speak out about injustice? I mean, when you have millions of fans hanging on your every word, shouldn't you be more vocal about the issues that matter? The tension in the studio was now palpable. Shelton's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. I think everyone has the right to their own opinions. Joy, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert on every political issue, just because I happen to sing songs for a living. I respect my fans enough to let them make up their own minds about these things. Whoopi Goldberg, who had been silent until now, suddenly jumped into the fray. But Blake, that's exactly the problem, isn't it? This idea that we can just stay neutral while people are suffering. Your silence on certain issues speaks volumes about where you really stand. The accusation hit like a lightning bolt. Shelton's entire demeanor shifted, his relaxed posture straightened. I'm sorry, but I think you're making some pretty big assumptions about me based on what I haven't said rather than what I have said. That doesn't seem particularly fair. The other panelists began to sense blood in the water. They piled on, bringing up past social media posts and comments he had allegedly made years earlier that had been twisted out of context. It was clear now that this wasn't an interview. It was an ambush. Shelton's publicist, standing off to the side, began shifting nervously as she watched her client being attacked by what was supposed to be a friendly morning talk show. The audience, initially excited to see their favorite country star, began murmuring uncomfortably as they witnessed the unfolding drama. Look, Shelton said, his voice beginning to carry a warning tone that anyone familiar with his Oklahoma roots would recognize immediately. I came here to talk about music and maybe share a laugh or two with your viewers. I didn't sign up to be lectured about my personal beliefs or have my character questioned based on your assumptions about who you think I am. But Joy Behar was relentless. Character, Blake, your character is exactly what we're talking about here. When you choose to remain silent while marginalized communities are under attack, when you refuse to use your platform to speak out against injustice, that tells us everything we need to know about your character. The studio audience fell silent, the uncomfortable tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Shelton's face flushed red, and his hands gripped the arms of his chair so tightly his knuckles went white. This was no longer about politics or social issues. This had become a personal attack. The breaking point came when Shelton finally pushed back. "Now hold on just a damn minute," he said, his voice cutting through the studio like a blade. "You don't know the first thing about me, lady. You sit here in your little bubble making judgments about people you've never met, thinking you're some kind of moral authority. That's rich coming from someone who makes a living tearing people down on national television." Joy Behar's face turned crimson. "Excuse me, I'm holding you accountable, Blake. That's what journalists do. We ask the hard questions that your adoring fans won't ask." Shelton wasn't backing down anymore. "Journalist? Is that what you call this? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks more like a coordinated hit job. You invited me here under false pretenses, and now you're trying to bully me into saying what you want me to say so you can go viral on social media." Whoopi Goldberg tried to regain control. "Like nobody's trying to bully you. We're having a conversation about responsibility and using your platform for good. If that makes you uncomfortable, maybe you should ask yourself why." Shelton's laugh was bitter and humorless. "Responsibility? You want to talk about responsibility? How? About the responsibility to treat your guests with basic respect? How about the responsibility to have an honest conversation instead of setting up some kind of political gotcha moment?" As the tension continued to rise, Blake Shelton reached a point of no return. "That's it," he said, his voice now carrying the full weight of his anger. "I came here in good faith to talk about my music and connect with fans. And instead, I walked into a planned ambush by a group of bullies who think they're morally superior to everyone else." Shelton stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. He began removing his microphone, his movements deliberate. Despite his fury, "You want to know what's really outdated? It's this idea that you can treat people like garbage and then hide behind some noble cause to justify your behavior." The host sat in stunned silence as Shelton continued his critique. "You talk about values and responsibility, but where are your values when it comes to treating your guests with basic human decency? Where's your responsibility to have honest, respectful conversations instead of orchestrating hit jobs?" "Blake." Shelton turned toward the camera, speaking directly to the viewers. "Folks, what you just witnessed here is everything that's wrong with our national conversation right now. These people invited me here not to have a discussion, but to try to destroy me for the crime of thinking differently than they do." The silence that followed was deafening. Shelton had just made his stand, not only for himself, but for anyone who had ever been unfairly attacked in the name of political correctness. As Blake Shelton walked off the set of The View, he left behind a group of stunned hosts and an audience forever changed by the raw authenticity of the moment. Thank you for watching this intense moment unfold. Don't forget to subscribe to Flame Rush for more captivating stories and behind-the-scenes moments. Leave a comment below with your thoughts on this explosive interview.